Hello and welcome to the Evening News for today, Monday, June 16, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, over a dozen homeless after Delve Street fire. Guyana's surroundings to receive a facelift as government rolls out billion-dollar cleanup campaign. Guyana Police Force withdraws support from Police Wives Association. Rohi pours cold water on opposition's resignation calls. Overseas-based Guyanese charged for attempting to illegally export 22 birds. Region 2 floods as pump attendant sleeps. And PPPC wants U.S. to establish long overdue DEA office. Now for the news in detail. Bisham Muhammad joins us to report that more than a dozen people are homeless after a fire this afternoon destroyed a home on Delve Street in Campbellville.
A fire suspected to be electrical in origin has left at least 15 people making alternative living arrangements. 3 sets of families are now counting their losses as fire completely razed their Lot 27 Delve Street Campbellville home earlier this afternoon. The fire reportedly started about 1600 hours. At the scene, the 3 sets of families were in tears as they tried to come to grips with reality. The house was owned by Pamela Rampatab. The Rampatabs occupied the upper flat of the house. The 2 apartments on the lower flat were being rented. The Rampatabs also operated a body workshop at the premises. Dinesh Rampatab explained when he became aware of the fire.
I went downstairs in the workshop working and all of a sudden the neighbor tell me that fire in the house. When I went upstairs, the house done start fire. When I started throw water couldn't do nothing. Well, there be a good amount of cars. There's vehicles plus things upstairs too. Enough household appliances and workshop work tools.
Another brother, Avinash Rampatab, said that he was not at home but rushed to the scene when he got the news.
According to what I get to hear was my brother and my cousin was home, and then guys in the workshop working downstairs. That's about it.
Oh, so it's a workshop?
Yeah, it's a workshop. Yeah, but the workshop, and this is why you hear the house on fire. It was like about 25 to 30 million.
The entire building?
Yeah.
And the vehicles were damaged as well?
Well, I don't. I see some of the vehicle pushed out. Only one is left in the yard, so I don't know what happened.
So you're the owner for the workshop?
No, my brother's the owner for the workshop. I'm the owner for the vehicle that's in the yard.
A teenager who occupies one of the apartments in the lower flat explained when she knew of the fire, while noting that one of her nephews went to collect his game from the upper flat when the fire started.
I don't know what happened really. We was downstairs and then my sister come out and she see the smoke and she tell me to come outside. And then we come outside, and when we come outside, smoke was all over. He was playing with his game in the chair and then he said he smelled smoke and then he go in the room and he just watch, and when he watch me foot get burned there, and then them boys downstairs call he come downstairs. And
the Even News understands that there was a power failure in the area, and it was as soon as the current came on, smoke was seen emanating from the building. The fire officials and police are conducting their investigations. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Local Government and Regional Development Minister Norman Whitaker has announced that his ministry will be commencing the $1 billion Guyana Cleanup Project this week. Let's find out more in this report.
The minister made this announcement at the press conference in the ministry's boardroom today. According to Whitaker, a national committee to plan, execute and to oversee the works was set up some time ago after the money was sanctioned by Parliament. He related that this committee consists of 1 representative each from the ministries of local government, tourism, industry and commerce, housing and water, natural resources and the environment, agriculture, public works and the private sector. It was noted that while many may believe that the money will only be used for the removal of garbage, the minister stated that there are several other major projects which will be undertaken.
We will be focusing on restoring, in some instances, rehabbing, etc., public assets, cokers and sluices, main canals, roadside drains, parapets and alleyways, cemeteries, because this is not limited to Georgetown. We are looking at other urban areas and rural areas also. Monuments, public open spaces, market areas, and you would have seen recently one of the printed media highlighting the situation at a number of local markets, including La Penitence, Border, and Stabroek. Market areas, the seawall and the beaches between Marriott Bandstand to the old Guyap building, and of course garbage cleanup.
Meanwhile, public consultations are expected to begin as soon as the 19th in Campbellville and on the 20th in All Boys Town to educate and to solicit the help of the residents in the project. Thus far, 4 garbage trucks have been procured by the ministry to assist in the cleanup and rehabilitation works, while more than 500 bins have been handed over to various organizations to be placed in strategic locations to reduce littering. The project is expected to be finished by December 31st of this year. Reporting for the Evening News, Gomati Gangdi.
A teenager is now in police custody in connection with the murder of a businesswoman who was discovered with her hands and feet bound on Sunday morning. Here's Svetlana Marshall with the details.
65-year-old Samindra of Barnes Sussex Street's All Boys Town was discovered tied up in the upper flat of her 2-story house at approximately 4:30 hours on Sunday. Samindra, whose sold in the vendor's arcade, was found by one of her children, Shah, who was living with her at the time. At the scene, Samindra's ex-husband Sheikh Dindul said Shah was out drinking with his friends on Saturday and had only returned home on Sunday morning when the discovery was made.
He come and call me at the gate there, at the place there, but Daddy, how we call you know, I know well to some place. I said, what, Mom? He said, come see, kill Mommy.
When Samindra's son arrived home, the entire house was ransacked with a 32-inch flat-screen television set missing, in addition to cash and other valuables. While there was no sign of forced entry, Samindra's ex-husband is firmly of the opinion that the killer entered the house through the back door.
So it got to be something that the person who came there at the door, she pulled the blind, she know them. That's why she opened the door. You understand what I mean?
She opened the back door. It wasn't a forced entry.
No. So that's why I'm saying. And it had to be when she was in bed. She had gone. She had gone.
Although Samindra and Dindul had been divorced for more than 25 years, he said he was truly moved by her death. Hours after the discovery, a teenager who lives nearby was taken into custody in connection with the murder. Investigations are ongoing.
There will be no surrender. Clement Rohi today told the opposition that he will not resign his job as an MP or Minister of Government. Jomo Paul tells us that the minister is not losing any sleep over the issue.
He could care less whether the APNU is intensifying efforts and calls aimed at forcing him to resign as Home Affairs Minister. Today, Roy said that frankly he's become accustomed to the APNU's witch-hunting campaign against him.
It gives me great joy and satisfaction. And I wish he could do it almost every day. I'm referring to Mr. Granger. I wish he could call for my resignation every single day. It gives me so much joy and satisfaction because I feel that I'm on the right path. I feel happy to know that I'm a bee in his bonnet. Think about what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying. It doesn't upset my breakfast, my dinner, nor my lunch. In fact, I eat more heartily.
Rohi contended that the APNU wants him to act in the capacity of police commissioner, and to do so would be an obvious conflict of Guyana's constitution.
What the opposition is trying to do is to make me act as though I'm the commissioner of police. That is what they're trying to do. Make me talk and make me act as though I'm the commissioner. You see, if I'm to fall into that trap, then they may be quite justified in the criticism that they're making.
He noted that while the APNUs accused him of not issuing the police force with any defined directives, this was not the case.
That is the minister speaking. The minister is giving in his speech general directions to the police in respect to what he expects of in respect to the implementation of the policy. They are sitting there, they're listening to the subject minister speaking. He's giving them general orders and general directions. They now have to take that and translate that in respect to the operations and in respect to the management and the superintendents of the police force.
Friday, the APNU issued another call for Roy to vacate his ministerial post. The party contends that Roy is not competent enough to hold a portfolio of Home Affairs Minister. For the Evening News, Jomo Paul.
The Ghana Police Force has withdrawn its support from the Ghana Police Forces Wives Association. Jomo Paul reports.
The Ghana Police Force today formally withdrew support for the Ghana Police Wives Association after it allegedly found several discrepancies in the manner in which it is conducting its internal affairs. The police force in the release said that the makeup of the current executive body is in breach of the Constitution, as there are several persons who are not wives of retired or serving policemen. This announcement comes in the heels of listening complaints and comments from the association that the force is trying to micromanage the entity by implanting its own people to hijack its operations. The force has also been accused of locking out the Police Writers Association from the building it utilizes for meetings. But today the force said that the association has not contributed anything tangible for the serving husbands within the police force in the recent past. The force reported that consultations with the Ministry of Labour, Human Services and Social Security, that the association has not been able to submit audited financial reports since 2007. The association also refused to call an AGM to elect new office bearers under the ratified constitution. For the evening news, Jomo Paul.
The People's Progressive Party Civic today reiterated its call for the U.S. State Department to intensify its effort to establish a drug enforcement agency in Guyana. The party's call comes more than a decade after the two sides agreed on establishing a DEA office here.
PPPC's General Secretary Clement Rohi said there is an urgent need to establish the long overdue Drug Enforcement Agency office here as Guyana continues to wage war against the thriving narco trade. Guyana and the United States were expected to remove all barriers to the establishment of the office more than a decade ago. Instead, the blame game continues between the two sides as to who was either delaying the process or not fully cooperating. Even today, it is not clear who is responsible for the non-establishment of the DEA office.
The U.S. can identify major drug dealers in Guyana, and we can't. So I was trying to find out why is this.
Well, that's why we need the DEA office here as quickly as possible. I think if we get the DEA office established in Guyana, then we will be in a much better position to deal collectively with these issues. Because it may very well be possible the U.S. has intelligence on this person that they may not be desirous of sharing with us.
Rohi pointed out that the U.S. has asked that liaison officers between the DEA and local law enforcement be subjected to polygraph tests, and the government is acceding to that request.
And as you know, the U.S. government has been demanding polygraphing of persons who will be the interlocutors with their DEA agents. In other words, U.S. DEA agents are not going to collaborate with persons who they have not polygraphed, even though you may have polygraphed them as well. So the mutuality of polygraphing is an issue that will come up at some point in time.
With that being said, Rohi contended that with the establishment of the DEA office and the completion of the Drug Master Plan, the fight against drug trafficking will be intensified.
Right now, we're putting the finishing touches to it at the level of the task force of the Ministry of Home Affairs. From there, once it is cleared, it goes to the Cabinet for its consideration. And then after that, once Cabinet approves of it, then a date is set for its public disclosures.
A man was remanded for causing the death of his 7-year-old boy today. Shania Singh reports.
28-year-old Jermaine Carroll of Lot 34 Stevedore Housing Scheme today appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court after he was charged for causing death of a 7-year-old, along with another charge of not having third-party insurance. The charge alleged that on June 12th at Freeman Street, La Penitence, the accused drove his motorcar PPP 5931 in a dangerous manner, which happened to hit 7-year-old Joseph Qualis, tossing him into a concrete bridge, after which he was pinned by the vehicle. The accused, who works as a maintenance worker attached to Church's Chicken, pleaded not guilty to the charges laid against him. Prosecutor Bart Mangrew objected to bail on the grounds of the seriousness and prevalence of the matter. He also told the court that the accused has other minor matters and has tried to evade police arrest previously. Bail was refused to Carroll, and he is scheduled to make his next appearance at the Georgetown Magistrates Court on July 4th for statements. Shania Singh for the Evening News.
More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News. This is the Evening News on TVG. Welcome back. A pedal cyclist was killed on Saturday after being hit by a truck on the Dwellin Public Road. Details from Svetlana Marshall.
55-year-old Imran Mohammed of Lot 16, the Willem North West Coast, Demerara, succumbed at the Georgetown Public Hospital on Saturday, hours after he was hit by a motor lorry. Mohammed was reportedly crossing the Willem Public Road on his cycle when he met his demise. His reputed wife was at home when she received the devastating news.
He just walked with a boy named Papalo, and Papalo's wife called me and tell me Mohammed get an accident on the road, and the person who knocked him down pick him up and carry to the hospital.
She was also told that her reputed husband was rushed to the Lenora Cottage Hospital by the driver who struck him down. Upon arriving at the regional hospital, she accompanied her reputed husband to GPHC, where he later succumbed. Mohammed was a driver by profession, but on the day of his death had proceeded to hang out with some friends.
He walked the morning, and then he come home. And he come home and he take a little drink and he come home. And then he even lie down in the hammock and he rest, he revise and so. Me get for eat and so, and he eat and he lie down in the hammock and he sleep, and then he wake up back. And he tell me, you go wild. I mean, I know how you gone out the public road.
As police investigations continue, the driver of the lorry remains in custody.
Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh says public-private partnerships can play an integral role in the development of strong and vibrant economies across the world, as he explained the benefits Guyana enjoys from its set of partnerships. Alexis Rodney reports.
A PPP involves a contract between a public sector authority and a private party, where the private party provides a public service or project and assumes a substantial financial, technical and operational risk in the project. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh was at the time responding to a host of questions on financial matters last week. He told reporters that partnership agreements have over the years been the bedrock of exploration, not only for developing but developed countries as well.
I'm not alone in this regard. Indeed, development practitioners around the world increasingly recognize the merit of this model. Not today or yesterday, but for a number of years now. The United Kingdom, countries like the United Kingdom and New Zealand, those who have studied public administration will tell you that private financing of public infrastructure is an initiative that these countries have been implementing now for perhaps 2 decades.
Infrastructure such as schools, roads and hospitals are built with funds provided through private investments, he reported. International financial institutions and regional development banks have become increasingly aware of the benefits of PPPs and are now in the business of advocating for its use as an attractive solution to the financing challenges of developing countries. Singh said there are some pressing developmental needs in Guyana, and he made reference to the $800 million Amila Falls Hydro Project, the Deep Water Harbor and the Road to Brazil, very large projects, he stressed.
The question is, and this is a question confronting countries around the world, the question is, how do you finance this development need without contracting unsustainable debt? You have only 2 options. You have finite instruments available to you. You have an $800 million project that is a worthwhile project. You either have to raise domestic revenues to finance it, and that has an implication. That's essentially increased taxes or reductions in expenditure, or you basically have to borrow it. Either way, it has a fiscal impact that potentially could be unsustainable. And so, how do you raise the financing to meet this development need?
Guyanese are becoming increasingly aware of the principles attached to public-private partnership investments after a flurry of criticisms were evoked regarding the toll attached to the Berbice River Bridge and attempts to have the rate reduced by members of the country's political opposition. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
While Home Affairs Minister Clement Rohi says that he expects the forensic laboratory to be opened at the end of June, the minister still has not issued an official date for the opening of the long-awaited forensic facility. Here are details.
The date of the opening of the long-awaited forensic lab is still unknown, but the Home Affairs Minister expects that it will be opened by the end of the month.
I visited the forensic lab last Saturday, and I was very pleased with what I saw. we are almost near the installation of all the, to use Adam's words, major technical equipment. Oh, Mr. Eliezer. Major technical and sensitive equipment that is required to be installed. That is all that is left to be done.
The minister said currently he is awaiting the completion of several sections of the facility. These works include the installation of air conditioning units.
We are awaiting the experts who are based in Trinidad from a company called Western Scientific. They're the ones that won the contract to install the equipment. So as soon as they come here sometime during the course of this week, when the equipment is all installed and calibrated, then the air conditioning experts have to ensure that the level of air conditioning is of such that there is no problem in the air conditioning system throughout the, because that's another issue that we have to address in terms of the sensitiveness of the equipment as a whole. But I was very pleased with what I saw. We are soon nearing entire completion in its entirety, and not too long from now, probably sometime before the end of this month.
The building, which should have been completed in April 2013, was held up as the primary contractor, Courtney Benn Contracting Services, experienced setbacks. It was originally set for opening in 2013.
The Region 2 administration has launched an investigation after a pump attendant fell asleep on Saturday, causing ankle-high flooding in the town of Anna Regina. Residents, in inquiring where the water was coming from, found out that it was a blunder by an attendant at the Anna Regina pump station. They say the negligence by the young man, who is a relative of a top regional official, is unacceptable. According to information reaching this newscast, the attendant fell asleep and forgot to close the door at around 3 hours. When he woke up an hour later, he immediately began to make frantic calls to regional officials, who responded promptly. An excavator managed to pull the sluice door down, and a pump was put into operation to dispatch the excess water inland. Within 4 hours, normalcy was restored. The Anna Regina pump station provides drainage to approximately 1,500 families in the town. The $28 million pump was commissioned in 2008. In this report, we'll hear that a man was charged today for stealing a car.
28-year-old Mortimer Chan today appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before the Chief Magistrate Priya Narayan Bihari after he was charged for stealing a motor car. It is alleged that on June 11 at Georgetown, he stole one Mazda motor car, PPP 5786, property of Ivory Allicock. It is also alleged that on the night in question, around 1 a.m., the complainant parked his motor vehicle outside his home and woke up around 6 a.m. to find his vehicle missing. A report was made and investigations were carried out, and the accused was arrested. Chand, who pleaded not guilty to the charge laid against him, told the court that he knows nothing of a car. He explained that police showed up at his house inquiring about guns and ammunition and subsequently arrested him and then accused him of stealing a car. Prosecutor Bharat Mangru objected to bail on the grounds of seriousness and prevalence of the matter. Bail was refused to the defendant and he will return on July 4th for submission of statements. Shania Singh for the Evening News.
More news ahead. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Evening News on TVG. A Guyanese-based Canadian was charged for attempting to illegally export birds out of Guyana. Shania Singh reports.
Canadian-based Guyanese Nazir Khan today appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before the Chief Magistrate Priya Narayan Bihari after he was charged for attempting to illegally export birds under protection orders. The charge alleged that on June 13th at the Chetty Jagan International Airport, the accused had 22 birds concealed in hair curlers in his carry-on luggage on flight BW606 destined for Toronto. The defendant was unrepresented by an attorney at law and pleaded guilty to the charges laid against him. He further told the court that he was unaware the documents were needed and the birds were not for profit but rather his personal amusement. He was given bail of $125,000 and will return on July 4th.
Jalicia Pinder now reports that dozens of youths are now ready to work after completing a very worthwhile training program.
53 young men and women of the Skills and Knowledge for Youth Employment Project graduated from their Life and Work Skills Training Program and are now ready to find their place in the working world. The SKY project was funded by USAID and is being implemented by the Education Development Center.
The SKY project, the Skills and Knowledge for Youth Employment Project, is funded by USAID and is being implemented by Education Development Center, which is based in Waltham, Boston. And it was designed based on President Obama's Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, which out of that came a partnership with the US and the Caribbean governments, and Guyana is the recipient of that initiative.
President of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Lance Hines, encouraged the youth to keep focused in their endeavors and always take advantage of every opportunity that may come their way.
Youth employment is not where it should be, but it means that you have to be prepared and you have to be competitive. Whenever the call comes for the job, be ready, get in front of the line, market yourself aggressively. Remove any defense that anyone would want to put up of not hiring you. Remember, in some cases, you're reintegrating yourself back into society. You may have to be twice as good. It might not be fair, but as the saying goes, it is what it is.
The 53 youth will be assisted in finding jobs or, if they so desire, return to schools to further their studies. For the Evening News, Jalicia Pinder.
Your regional, international, bridge and ferry reports are after the break. Stay tuned. In case you've just joined us, you're watching Evening News. We now take a look at your bridge reports. The Damar Harbour Bridge is expected to be closed at 8 hours 30 on Tuesday, June 17, 2014, for a period of 1.5 hours. And the Berbice River Bridge is expected to be closed at 7 hours 25 on Tuesday, June 17, 2014, for a period of 1.5 hours. And for those of you using the ferry service, the Supanam and Purika ferries are slated to depart their respective locations on Tuesday, June 17, 2014, at 8 hours. Both ferries are slated to return to their respective locations on Tuesday, June 17, 2014, at 20 hours. Join Ruben Stobie after the break for sport, which is sponsored by Marco. This is the Evening News.
In the headlines, Kevin Paul surprised at Limacol CPL selection. Courtney Walsh excited about Limacol CPL 2014. National Ruggers closer to facing USA South, and Bishops High ends UG's winning streak. Our sportscast is brought to you with the kind compliments of Macarp.
We believe that everything worth building should be built just once. That is why we build on culture, on trust, on integrity. We exist to do more, better, faster, safer. Your success depends on the foundation it's built on. Everything we do is meant to move you forward. Marco, let's build Guyana together.
Reigning Limacol CPL champions, the Jamaica Tallawahs, this year welcomed Jamaica and West Indies cricket legend Courtney Walsh as a team mentor. Walsh spoke about his inaugural year in the tournament and was upbeat about what he's expecting for CPL 2014. The 6'6" former Jamaica and West Indies fast bowler has played in 3 Cricket World Cups and in 1996 aided the West Indies to the semi-finals. He has since won the Jamaica Sportsman of the Year 3 times in a row and says he will be working closely with the fast bowlers among the Tallawahs for CPL 2014. With the Tallawahs being defending champions, the former world record holder for the highest number of wickets in Test knows it will be a challenge, noting that pressure will be on the team from the onset. The Limacol CPL will bowl off on July 11 with 6 franchise teams vying for top honours. Guyana Amazon Warriors under-19 selectee Kevin Paul has expressed surprise at being called up to the Guyana Amazon Warriors preparatory camp beginning July 1. The cricketer is among 6 youth players selected by the local franchise as part of its developmental drive. Rajiv Bisnath reports.
Paul, West Indies under-19 players Tejarain Chandra Paul and Shemron Hetimayo, Lafarm fast bowler Daniel Basdeo, Essecubo all-rounder Kimo Paul and 16-year-old Ashkaya Pasod are the players selected by the local franchise. However, during an exclusive interview, the Lodge secondary school teacher is keen on making the opportunity count since, according to him, it's a stepping stone for his promising career.
Well, obviously it came as a surprise, but nevertheless, I would just like to say thank God for the opportunity, and I will promise to give it my best and continue working hard, even though it's a surprise. Myself and Coach Andrew Lovell, he's been working to me very close, and every preparation I start putting in the extra work, start waking up in the morning and do the early jog, and he has been coming quite okay.
Now that the 18-year-old will be sharing the same dressing room with his fellow countrymen, top players from the region and leading international T20 stars, Paul said he's looking forward to that experience.
Well, I expect to make the best of it, knowing that you'll be rubbing shoulders with the regional and international stars. I expect to give it my best and get some things that I can learn, some experience and some knowledge, some tips in terms of the game and at the highest level. So I expect to give it my best and make the best of it.
The under-19 players will be involved in all training sessions and other team activities during the Guyana Amazon Warriors camp and match practice schedule for their home games only. However, the players will not be part of the selection process on match days. The Limacol CPL, which was played in front of sold-out crowds at all venues in the Caribbean, will be played from July 11 to August 16, with Chris Gale's Jamaica Tallawahs set to defend their title against last year run-up Guyana Amazon Warriors, Antigua Hawksbills, Barbados Tridents, St. Lucia Zouks, and Trinidad and Tobago Red Steel.
England were denied victory in an incredible finale to the first test as Sri Lanka's last wicket pair batted out the final 5 balls to cling on for a draw at Lords. In scenes of barely believable drama, umpire Paul Rifle gave Nuwan Pradeep out LBW to apparently hand England victory of the penultimate ball, but Sri Lanka used the decision review system to reveal an inside edge, and when an outside edge of the last ball landed inches short of second slip, the tourists had survived. The result means the teams will head to the second and final test at Headingley starting on Friday with the series all square. Final scores in the game: England 575 for 9 and 267 for 8. Sri Lanka 453 and 201 for 9. With significant support from the North American and Caribbean Rugby Association, NACRA, the national men's 15s team is closer to honouring their date with USA South in the final of the NACRA 15s final in Atlanta. More from Avinash Ramzan.
By virtue of winning the Southern Zone, beating Trinidad and Tobago 15-8 at the National Park, the Guyanese have earned the right to face defending champions USA South, who emerged champions of the Northern Zone last weekend. President of the Guyana Rugby Football Union, the GRFU, Peter Green, had earlier stated that the Guyanese face an uphill task financially to make the game a reality, since a whopping $8 million was required to offset expenses related to the match. Green, speaking at a press conference on Monday at the Guyana Olympic Association, was the bearer of good news relating that NACRA has chipped in a huge way to assist the local ruggers to honour the match date. The GRFU head pointed out that NACRA has agreed to offset the expenses related to airfares as well as part of the accommodation. With the bulk of the expenses now out of the way, the GRFU is required to raise another $2 million, which will cover meals and additional accommodation as well as visa-related expenses. Green highlighted that the GRFU will be approaching businesses and President Donald Ramotar for assistance in meeting that budget, as according to Treasurer of the body, Roger Pereira, the GRFU is in the red. The GRFU head also pointed out that the union is contemplating engaging NACRA for a shift in the date of the game, providing they do not meet the necessary requirements such as financing and the approval of visas. The game is originally built for this Sunday in Atlanta. Green also used the opportunity to reveal that Guyana has moved from number 60 to number 53 in the world rankings following back-to-back victories over Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. The ranking includes 154 countries.
Thomas Müller scored the first hat-trick of the 2014 World Cup as Germany produced a ruthless attacking display to destroy 10-man Portugal and open their World Cup bid in style. The 24-year-old scored 5 goals to win the Golden Boot in South Africa 4 years ago, and he took his total at this tournament to 8 with a sensational performance in the false 9 position. The Bayern Munich forward dispatched an early penalty, drilled home Germany's third, and tapped in a fourth with centre-back Mats Hummels heading the second before going off with a knee injury. Portugal lost defender Pepe the needless red card at 2-0 after he appeared to headbutt Müller, and Paulo Bento's men could not recover as Cristiano Ronaldo had little chance to impress. Action in the Youth Basketball Guyana YBG Regional Conference continued last weekend at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall as the University of Guyana Ballers lost their first game of the tournament. Justin Joseph reports.
Mikhail Broom sank a 3-point dagger to put Bishop's High School up by 5 points with 27 seconds remaining to hand the University of Guyana their first loss at 35-33. Marvin Durant had a quiet night on the offensive side of the ball, still scoring a team-high 12 points, while Daniel Haynes had 11 points, inclusive of the game-changing steal and bucket in the final 2 minutes of the game. Nathan Saul had another huge offensive performance to lead St. Rose's High School to a 1-point 34-33 win over Marion Academy. Saul drove the lane in the final minute with Marion up by 1 and drew the defensive foul that sent him to the line for the game-winning free throws that he buried calmly. In other results, President's College routed Pleasance Academy 57-45. St. Rose's High in the under 16 category routed Pleasance Academy 39-16. And Marion Academy defeated Bishop's High School 16-15 in the under 14 category. The tournament will continue on June 21 at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall.
And that has brought us to the end of the evening news for today, June 16, 2014. I am Ruben Stoby. Thanks for joining us.